Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Mickeyfan.
All right, so we got Mickeyfan and we've got D Hindley here. Hi, Doug.
Hello.
Okay, welcome, guys. Welcome to the highly anticipated top 10 list. The top 10 theme park characters. Now, these are all original characters created specifically for theme parks. They can be set in different IPs. So, for example, Captain Rex, I'm sure, is a consummate favorite. That's going to be on multiple lists here, from Star Tours, for example, in the Star Wars universe. But as long as they were first created for theme park attraction, that's all there is to it. That's the only criteria we have. So why don't we get started with some dishonorable mentions? I'm going to let my two comrades go first because I've got three of them.
All right, I'm gonna.
For my dishonorable mention, my opinion, the worst theme park character ever created is Mr. Six from Six Flags.
Nice. I love it.
Does he really count though? He was in commercials.
I would say he counts. I would say he counts. He is created specifically for theme parks.
I'm pretty sure I saw him at the park once or twice too. Like early on during that campaign.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that genuinely haunted my nightmares for a period of time.
God.
I think I don't need to go elaborate at all about this one. If anyone remembers him, just encourages children to go to a theme park. No.
All right. Hey, Doug, just so you know, we're picking up a little bit of a delay and a little bit of static on your end. So is there any way you could switch microphones or something?
Not really. I could try to turn off my AC. That's like the only thing I can really...
I don't think that'll help because it's more of a connection issue. Okay, well, guys, Mickeyfan, just try not to talk over Doug. I'm sorry, Doug. We're going to have to kind of place you in your own little bubble here for this kind of conversation.
That's fine. I know it's always been a technical challenge on my end.
Yeah. We'll get through it. All right, Mickeyfan, what's your dishonorable mention?
Mine is the incomparable Nigel Channing.
Oh, God.
Not you, Nigel, if you're listening. The Eric Idle Nigel Channing. Just dry, humorless, uncreative, unimaginative, a waste of Eric Idle. I'm bring back Dreamfinder.
Yeah, he's just a flat out stick in the mud.
Yeah.
I think he's terrible in the original incarnation he was in. I actually think the best version of him is in Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's terrible in the original redo of Journey into Imagination.
You don't have any imagination.
And then the current Journey into Imagination, he's like textbook definition of fine. He's fine. Like, he's not really offensive in any way, but it's like, whatever, dude. You're just here.
He's there.
All right, so I have three dishonorable mentions. Maybe you guys can help me out with some of these names here, although I doubt one of them you can. So I hate to have anything Muppet Vision related on a dishonorable mentions list. I really do. But from a young age, I have never been able to quite tolerate Waldo, the Spirit of 3D.
I'm with you.
And I still think he's a little bit, like, even today, like, where I have such a fondness for the attraction, I have even more of a fondness for the attraction now than I did back then. He's still just kind of insufferable, especially when I've, like, had a long day at a theme park, and I'm just like, advancing on people's heads, advancing on people's heads.
That is an really good Waldo, and I hate it too for it.
So, yeah, Waldo, first of all, he goes against everything the Muppets stand for, being a CGI creation. I mean, I'm glad they didn't go that route with the franchise. They've always kind of stuck to their roots, with the exception of Waldo. So, I don't know. I know that probably I'm curious if Monkey shames me for putting Waldo on this list. I'm curious. All right. Next one. Mickeyfan, do you know the name of that dry ass professor from Flight of Passage?
No, you're talking about the fly guy, right?
Yeah, just whatever guy you're stuck in just like the endless pre-show rooms with.
I don't think he has a name. And
He doesn't have a name. I love that. I love that he doesn't have a name. That's amazing.
I will defend this dude.
Nah, you can't defend this dude.
I will defend this dude.
This dude is terrible.
Is exactly the overly excited, trying to withhold all of his.
He's not excited though. He's not. Oh God. He's terrible. He's honestly so bad. It makes it like.
I will defend this dude because I know people exactly like this dude.
Just being trapped in endless rooms with him, it just makes the whole process of Flight of Passage aggravating to me. All right, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one.
We have to.
Okay, next one. Oh, this is another one I don't even know the name of, but it's the villain from The Voyage of the Iron Reef, or Voyage to the Iron Reef, or whatever the hell it's called, from Knott's Berry Farm. Doug, you can speak to this.
Yeah, I don't know the name of the villain, but I mean, I'm not a big fan of Iron Reef altogether. It just, to me, it feels like it's against the Knott's aesthetic and style.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Tiki.
No, I totally agree. I think Iron Reef was a big flop of an attraction. I really do. It cost them a ton of money, and it really didn't warrant any sort of return on investment. It's really misplaced, and the villain, I think, is one of the main reasons, because honestly, it's like we get so much. The Kraken Queen. Thank you, Monkey. Thank you, Monkey.
Is that even like an actual name?
Yes.
Like, that's a title. That's not a name.
Monkey would know. Monkey would know. I mean, you're right. That's not a name, but like that's the thing that they call her. Monkey would know.
She has more a character than that. I hadn't even registered her as being a character who might have been eligible. That's how unimpressive she is.
Well, when you mentioned dishonorable mentions, that's what I came up with, because the whole ride kind of builds up to her. And then when you get to her on the actual ride, it's like, oh shit, we're in like a late 90s light gun arcade shooter. It's so lame. It's
and it's trying to be super cool too, which just.
Oh God, I loved Monkey's comment. He knew his name. He knew her name before writing.
Nerd!
Of course you did. I love that. All right. Let's see. And then, yeah, those are my three. And Monkey says the doctor in Flight of Passage is Dr. Stevens. I think he's right about that.
Okay.
All right. Okay, guys. Now we've got two different tiers of honorable mentions here. We've got a tier 2 and a tier 1. We're going to save our tier 1 honorable mentions for right before we reveal our number 1 choice. But for right now, let's see. Doug, do you want to start? Just list them off really quick.
All right. I have 4 or 5. Tony Solaroni from Tokyo Disneyland. Cosmo from Knoebels, whom no one else is maybe even aware of. He's this chipmunk mascot.
I'm very aware of him, though.
Knoebels, it's this amazing independent park in Pennsylvania. It's basically a permanent carnival in the middle of a riverbank. There's nothing else like it. Nonetheless, I also have Harold from the Matterhorn.
Nice.
With the Yeti.
Yeah.
Although I prefer the Harold over the Yeti personally. And I have, I'm sorry, Mickeyfan, I have Captain EO.
Ta-da! All right, Mickeyfan, your honorable mentions tier 2.
I have 3. Alberta Falls from Skipper Canteen and the Jungle Cruise.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
She was honestly like super close. Lord Darkanon from Poseidon's Fury at Universal.
Ah, nice.
Empty masterpiece for Poseidon's Fury.
It is. I love Poseidon's Fury.
And Rex from Star Tours.
Ooh, controversial. Rex from Star Tours only making your tier 2.
He was another close one.
All right. Okay, I have 3, but Doug also mentioned one of them. One of my honorable mentions in tier 2 was indeed Harold. But you know what? I'm specifically going to go with the original version of Harold, the one that currently resides in Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout.
He was scarier.
Yeah, I agree. He was scarier. He was more mysterious, and I also like kind of the in-canon continuity that the Collector collected either the animatronic or the actual Yeti. All right. Let's see. Another honorable mention. I'm going to go with Red from Pirates of the Caribbean. And this is mostly pre-refurbishment, and I don't have as big of an issue with the auction scene as a lot of people do. But what I really did admire about Red's character pre-refurbishment is you kind of get all you need to know about her through the 2 details. You see in the you see in the caves, you see the painting of her, and she's like this elegant pirate queen in the heyday of her life. And then in the continuity of the ride, at least for me, you travel back in time to the point where she got abducted and she got drafted into that life. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of rich mythology behind her even before the company started really pushing her. And of course, I guess she's going to be like the main character of whatever the hell new movie they're coming out with. And that's fine. That's all well and good. But I really like the fact that there was this one iconic character in the original Pirates of the Caribbean that kind of stood above the rest in terms of just kind of like this aura of mystery and kind of guest love creating backstories around her. And there was a ton of fan art and cosplay around her well before the new scenes got added in. So I got to give her a mention. And then another one I have to mention is Gomer from the Country Bears, who is my favorite country bear. I like him because of how understated he is. I love his design. I love how big he is and get how soft-spoken he is. I don't know. There's just something about him that really tickles me. I could have picked any one of the country bears. It's hard to nail him down, but I think Gomer's the one that kind of carries the show with his tune. So, without the piano player, there'd be no show. All right. And now we're going to get into the list, guys. You ready?
Let's go.
All right, Doug, you're number 10.
I'm ready.
You're number 10.
All right, my number 10 is something that I think no one is expecting. My number 10 is Holodog from Holiday World.
No
if anyone even knows about Holiday World,
where?
This independent Holiday Dog from Holiday World in Indiana, I want to say it is. It's a tiny independently operated park. You won't know about it unless you're really into wooden coasters. They have some of the best wood coasters in the world. And yeah, anyway, the dog itself is just the mascot. It's this morbidly obese dog who wears a blue cape and a baseball cap. And of all the generic mascots in all the various regional parks, this one is the most personable. He's there when you enter the front gate with his assortment of buddies, his cat friend, Kitty Claw, George Beagle. And just he has the sense of middle American fun about him, just very pure and and awesome. He's a badass.
Nice, nice.
In a way that's like really hard to pin down or even justify, but I love Holodog.
All right, Mickeyfan, you're number 10.
All right. My number 10 is Red from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For
Nice.
much of the same reasons Tiki said in his honorable mentions. But so I'm gonna shift the focus onto her refurb.
Okay.
But like I love that, they just flat out made her a pirate, and I love that, they kind of showed her as the boss running the show there for that auction. Move on with the chickens. They want the rum. Very bad writing aside, I will fully admit.
And voice acting.
Voice acting. Like I think the scene is honestly really funny in concept.
All right. Nice. I don't disagree. I kind of prefer the original Red just because I think there was a little bit more mystique behind her, a little bit more ambiguity. But
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, though.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of just a nice evolution there.
All right. My number 10 is a really weird choice, and it's one of 10 disembodied Paul Frees voices. Try to guess the other one. But my number 10, not the obvious one on the list, my number 10 is the Adventures Through Inner Space narrator.
Okay.
All right. I love this guy, and this has always been one of my all-time favorite Paul Frees performances. Doug, yeah? So I just
it's hard to judge because I've only seen recreations on YouTube.
But you've heard the audio though, and that's all you need to know. That's all you need to go off of.
And I mean, I have.
You there, Doug?
All right, Doug, you keep kind of cutting out. Sorry. But yeah. All right. Well, you keep cutting out. I'm sorry, Doug.
Sorry, finish what you were saying, Tiki.
Okay.
Don't mind me.
The Lincoln narrator, yeah. The Lincoln narrator, solid for sure. That's another very solid Paul Frees performance. But what I love about the Inner Space narrator and why I think he's really nailed down as a very solid character, even though you never get a name for him and you never you never see him in the ride, is that he's got a very solid and defined arc of going from, at the beginning of the ride, he's like fascinated by what he's seen and his mind is just being blown and the possibilities are just all expansive. But then as we get deeper into the ride, he starts to kind of have a little bit of anxiety about the situation, and there's kind of like a little bit of doubt that starts to linger into his delivery until finally at the very end there's a straight up panic. I mean, it's kind of a desperate situation. Like, people don't really realize like how much peril you're actually in the original Adventures Through Inner Space. You're basically, like, for the Marvel fans out there, you're basically going into the quantum realm and you're basically going to get shrunk out of existence at the end of that ride. So Paul Frees' delivery is just this kind of like this wide-eyed scientist who kind of gets humbled by the power of the shrinking ray. I don't know, man. It's one of the great unsung deliveries in theme park voice acting. I love it.
It's a good choice. I have a different Paul Frees, but it's hard to argue against it. And he forms the entire emotional arc for the rider in that, because it's a very minimalist ride otherwise.
Sure. All right, now we move on to our number 9s. Doug, what do you got?
All right, my number 9, I have a duo. I have Sinbad and Chandu from Sinbad's Storybook Voyage in Disney Sea.
Those aren't original characters. They don't count.
I would say Chandu is an original character. Sinbad, I would give you. Chandu is interesting in that
Chandu's the tiger.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the tiger cub companion of Sinbad.
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
And Sinbad
I'm not going to
really,
give you Sinbad, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but here's where Chandu is really distinct from Sinbad anyway, is Chandu was not a part of the ride when it was originally made. He was part of a refurbishment because the original version of the ride was too frightening for children. It was leaning too far into the Pirates of the Caribbean style, so they softened it up and they added this adorable tiger cub sidekick to the main character, added the great Alan Menken song to go with it, and this tiger character, no words, just his meows and his cute little interactions, always very mischievous, kind of like Abu and Aladdin trying to steal jewels in the background and do things like that. Just really adds this through line to the ride, which has turned it around from where it originally was. It's now one of the great rides that Disney's made.
And Mickeyfan, you're also... Sorry. This is also your number 9?
Yes, this is also my number 9.
That's a crazy coincidence.
This is not the only cat on my list, I will say that.
Is Cool Cat on your list?
No. But like, so much about Chandu is so lovable and so like, you see him and you immediately fall in love with him. And especially you see how he and Sinbad interact, and you buy into that duo immediately. And as you see them going on their adventure, like, you buy into it. So much of it comes from Chandu.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely keep looking at it.
There's also the Chandu tail that they sell in the restaurant just outside of the ride, which are delicious.
It's like
I definitely think Sinbad's kind of evolved into...
Right?
Sorry, Mickeyfan, I was kind of talking over you there.
No, you're good. The Chandu tail is like a steamed chicken bun, right?
Yeah, it's like a spongy bread with chicken soup inside of it.
Okay.
I think they discontinued it last year and turned it into a sweet dish based off of his face now. But I mean, it's not Disney's year on parallel. On a cold, rainy day, especially.
Oh my God! Now I'm instantly hungry now. Thank you. Damn. All right, my number 9. This Doug, I'm interested to see if you have any reverence for this one. My number 9 from Playland Pier. This is probably by far going to be the oldest character on the list. It's Laughin' Saul.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot about her. Yeah, so, I've seen her around every once in a while.
Yeah, I've seen the one that's at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk a lot of times. They installed that one back in like 2005 or something. Laughin' Sal, like, yeah. Laughin' Sal is one of the original like theme park characters before there were even theme parks. Back when like these little boardwalks and playlands were the only amusement park offerings of the day, and these were the kind of things that Walt Disney sort of built Disneyland to kind of combat, because they did have a seedy atmosphere to them. But Laughin' Sal was basically just this obese woman who would stand at the entrance of the funhouse, and it was an animatronic, and it would just laugh hysterically, the most unnerving, ungodly, unholy laugh. And it's fucking iconic. I think for the time, the technology is actually really impressive. The movements are quite fluid for an animatronic of that time period. And I can't imagine how many kids were given nightmares from this. I mean, it's truly one of the most unnerving things. I mean, I can't even imagine what the actual funhouse was like. Jesus. So yeah, that Laughin' Saul, definitely my I think it's Laughing Sal, technically, not Saul. Laughing Sal.
I thought it was a Laughing Sally, but it's one of those things that's probably a little lost in time.
Yeah, well, like I said, I kind of grew up with the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, so when they installed theirs, I was actually really excited about it. It was like a big event for me. I was like, oh my God, we're getting a Laughing Sal. I was such a theme park nerd back when I was a kid. I mean, I still am, but like, Jesus, looking back at it, I'm surprised that like 12-year-old me was like super stoked for getting Laughing Sal.
Are there any other real characters associated with the Beach Boardwalk?
Not really. There's the cave train, but there's not really characters. It's just kind of generic cavemen. None of them really stick out or have much of a personality. They've had a number of licenses over the years, but yeah, I'm trying to think. Not as far as I know.
And there's that one caveman who rides on the chairlift, but that's
okay. Well, that's true. That's probably the closest thing that the boardwalk has to a defined character. Oh, actually, no. There is a character in the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. He's in Neptune's Kingdom. He's called Captain Ned, and he's this old rickety animatronic pirate that occasionally comes out to tell stories and do sea shanties, mostly during birthday parties. And it's technically an original character.
Doesn't make the list, though, I assume.
He didn't even make the honorable mentions, no. Just because basically, if you think of Patchy the Pirate and think of like a toned down version of Patchy the Pirate, and that's pretty much Captain Ned.
Lame.
All right. Let's see. So we've all gone through our number 9s. Doug, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is Jack the Clown from Universal's Halloween Horror Nights.
Nice. Nice. I approve.
The original icon, at least the first in-house icon, not counting the Crypt Keeper. And he has been a part of Halloween Horror Nights ever since then. Even when he's not there, his presence hangs over. He has the influence over all the other original icons, especially Chance, who's kind of like his Harley Quinn. But just, I mean, your quintessential evil clown character, giving a personality to the Horror Nights, making it something more than just the IPs that Universal always has access to. It's, in my opinion, this is the best original character that Universal has ever created.
Cool. Nice. All right, Mickeyfan, you're number 8. You're number 8.
Mario Chenier.
Oh, okay. Kind of the deep cut from the sea pool.
Yes. This mostly comes from just the aesthetic. Because I love me a lady sea captain. And I just think she has a really cool design. I like her parrot. Yeah, I just think she's neat.
All right. pretty straightforward. Okay, my number 8 is, this is the first one on my list that's like an original character created for a pre-existing property, and that is Mara from Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. I fucking love this villain. I think this is an incredible villain with incredible writing behind it. I just throughout the queue, if you really pay attention to that queue, it gives you such a good build up to this character with, the chamber where you don't want to step on the eyes on the floor. And then, you see the rotunda and, that giant painting of her, and it basically foreshadows the entire ride. The whole myth of do not look into the eyes of the idol or your path will lead to the gates of doom. Like, it's such a simple thing to hang a theme park plot on, and yet it's so effective. It works every time. It's just like every time I go on that thing, there's just like a little twinge of like, okay, maybe this time no one will look. It's like, I know obviously that's not going to happen, but it gives like a great level. It was like a level of interactivity before there was true interactivity in theme parks. It was kind of like it kind of put the guests really in the role for the first time, as far as I can think. And just the character herself. I mean, my God, that voice. I mean, first of all, thank God they got rid of that voice. Remember when they briefly redid the voice and it was just horrible?
Yeah,
It
for like a
sounded like
month.
a dude, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
And then
not
they
even
brought it
like a man, like just some dude.
right, exactly, just some dude, exactly.
Well, they had that really soothing voice for a brief period, like, you know, I spoke to him eyes, and
oh, I didn't like that either. Yeah, Jesus. So thank God they brought back the original voice, because the original voice is booming and creepy, and I love the face. I love what they do in the Chamber of Destiny, especially now with the projection mapping.
Yeah.
And the projection mapping is really one of the earliest things I can think of where Disneyland really went all out with just plussing up a scene with the projection mapping effects. I mean, that scene just looks freaking glorious with the projections. And then from there, it's like Mara is basically just kind of like the MacGuffin of the ride. You know, she's just kind of there to start the chaos, and you don't really encounter her again except for, you know, that skull on the bridge. But she's just such a wonderful build-up. The OG voice is James. Is it James Earl Jones? Is it really?
I don't think it is. It sounds a lot like him. I don't know. What do you think of the fact that Disney Sea, they have the crystal skull in place of Mara? It's a very similar role, but for me, it doesn't have nearly the same kind of
not as good.
behind it.
I mean, I've not been on that ride, but for me, it's not as good just because I imagine it doesn't have quite the build-up and quite the mythology and quite the whole, like, you know, like, oh my God, we can't look into the eyes kind of interactivity.
It doesn't. Although I honestly, I don't know what the story is because I don't speak Japanese. Other than there's a crystal skull that's attacking you, I guess, during the ride, and that's all I can really make out from the visuals.
I will say though, you guys have a far better second half.
You guys?
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean Tokyo.
Oh, I mean, I still consider Disneyland to be my home park. So
oh, I know.
Tokyo's second half is, I mean, honestly, like the things that one does better than the other, it really is 50-50 between the two Indiana Jones rides. They're both fantastic.
Okay, so guys, we're getting through the list pretty fast. Now we're on our number 7s. Take it away, Doug.
All right, number 7 is the Ghost Host from Haunted Mansion.
Nice.
Don't think anyone is going to argue with this. Very similar to what you said about the narrator on Adventures Through Inner Spaces. You have the voice alone bringing so much character, just giving the personality to the entire mansion. And there's kind of like Red, there's a lot of mystery behind the mansion characters, all of them, including the Ghost Host, is people look and they find animatronics and they ask, could that be the Ghost Host? Is he the man hanging in the stretching chamber? Is he somebody else? Is he the Hatbox Ghost? And I think that, I mean, there's a number of other great personalities on the ride. Hatbox Ghost, the Bride, Madame Leota, the Hitchhiking Ghosts, which would all be viable honorable mentions, but they really are all just facets of the Ghost Host, as far as I'm concerned. Like,
they don't have the mystery that the Ghost Host does. They have more defined personalities.
Just in terms of they have a corporeal presence.
What was that?
They have more. They don't have as much of a mystery as the Ghost Host because they have a corporeal presence. You can see them.
Right.
Sure.
Which is what makes the Ghost Host so much more interesting than being entirely just the voice.
Good choice. Good choice. Mickeyfan, you're number 7.
So speaking of the Haunted Mansion, I have Madame Leota
Nice.
my
I
number
mean,
7.
totally legit. Totally legit.
No, she is such an interesting character. How'd she get into that ball? She's the first real character we see in the ride. And she's kind of like something of the leader of all the ghosts in the mansion, aside from the ghost host. Because she's the one who says, "All right, guys, this is good. Come on out. Let's see ya." And
I like the air of menace that she kind of brings up while still being a proper host.
She's very benign, but you get the impression that you don't want to cross her.
My favorite Leota, by the way, is Phantom Manor Leota.
Yes.
There's a really interesting. There's an alternate track for the Phantom Manor with Vincent Price doing the ghost host.
Yes,
I know all about that. Yeah,
they brought it back a bit for the refurb.
But Phantom Manor is awesome.
Yeah, I love the dramatic heft that the Leota scene has in Phantom Manor. It's not just about calling in the spirits for a party. It has more to do with the bride and the story.
Well, that's just because Phantom Manor is all about that story.
Mm-hmm. God, I want to go on Phantom Manor.
It's so fucking good.
You've been there?
Yeah, I've been to Paris.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, nice, cool. Ah, man, one day. Okay, my number 7. This was honestly a really tough choice between two kind of like adorable mascot-y characters. One with a little bit more depth to them and one with more historical relevance. And I decided to go with the historical relevance. I went with the orange bird.
Okay.
And the one that I had to cut was Albert from Mystic Manor.
Okay.
And Albert from Mystic Manor, basically everything you guys said about the tiger from Sinbad can pretty much be described to Albert from Mystic Manor. He's playful, he's adorable, you just instantly love him. But let's talk about the orange bird, because the orange bird is such an icon. I mean, he is like, honestly, out of all the characters on my list, he's probably the icon of all of them. I mean, I love he's such a Florida, he's such a Florida standby. He's just a constant Florida icon. He's just constantly like there's always going to be merch about him. There's very little to him. But I don't know. I really love the corporate synergy behind him. I find his history to be just utterly fascinating. And I love the fact that he's kind of like outlived his brand in a way. And so, I don't know, I don't have much to say about him. It's kind of like the hollow dog for Doug. He's just like a freaking adorable little mascot where, you just instantly fall in love with him. Just the sight of him makes you want ice cream. It's incredibly marketable in that way. I don't know. It's a Florida icon, man. It's just like like if I were living in Florida, I'd be proud to call the orange bird my state bird. All right. Right. All right, and now we're on our number 6. Doug?
All right, number 6 for me is Harrison Hightower from the Disney Sea version of Tower of Terror. He is really well established in terms of personality, just in terms of the visuals in the queue and the pre-show. You never directly see him, because he's already dead before you ever get to the ride, or vanished. But the entire structure is his personality. He's this horrible colonialist who just steals artifacts from everywhere throughout the world, and he's now getting his comeuppance from the cursed idol Chiriki Usundu. Like, one amazing detail in the queue, every mural shows him stealing an artifact from another land in Disney Sea. So the entire park has this connected backstory with the Society of Explorers and Adventurers going around everywhere. There's more I could say about him, but that gets across the gist at least.
Nice. All right, Mickeyfan, you're number 6.
My number 6 is Lord Henry Mystic and Albert. Specifically
another
as
seed.
a duo, because I really don't think you can separate them. Very much a modern Dreamfinder and Figment in my eyes. You have this older, very intelligent, kind of dotty old man, and his really fun pet monkey who he treats like a son. And they live in this really weird mansion with all these really cool artifacts that all of a sudden come to life because Albert got himself into trouble. And yeah, they're just a really fun set of characters.
I fully agree. I only disagree with their placement so low on your list.
All right, my number 6. Time to piss some people off. I don't even think you guys are going to like this one. This is not a character created by Disney. It's a character created by the Disney fan community. It's a tall tale, it's an urban legend, and it's something that I have personally experienced somehow before I even knew it existed. I'm talking about Mr. fucking One Way.
What?
Yeah, you lost us.
You don't know about Mr. One Way?
No.
Disappointment. Mr. One Way is a very famous ghost that haunts Disneyland's version of Space Mountain.
Okay.
This is urban legend, guys. This is Disney folklore right here, and I love it. I have personally. All right, you guys want to get into a ghost story here? You want to get into a ghost story? All right, scary story time. Scary story time. So, I was. It was about 2005-ish. Space Mountain had just reopened for the 50th anniversary after an extensive refurbishment. Tower of Terror was the new kid on the block at Disney's California Adventure and kind of offering people the reason to go to that park finally. And so I was having the time of my life. I was park hopping. I had just gotten done with Tower of Terror. And I think I had a fast pass for Space Mountain. So you know how the Disneyland version of Space Mountain, you go down that speed ramp, and it takes about 10-ish minutes from the time you get into that final room to the time you board. Doug, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So in this time, a man strikes up a conversation with me. A man who is with red hair, who's kind of balding, and sunburnt, and he's got kind of a tacky looking tourist t-shirt on, and we're talking about like how he's a local and how he's such a big fan of Disneyland. And I brought up that I had been to the Tower of Terror that day, and he was like, "What's the Tower of Terror? I've never heard of it." And so I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird that a local wouldn't know what the Tower of Terror is. I mean, come on, it's like fucking right there. Come on. But I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I was like, okay, it's the new ride they just built in California Adventure. Guys, I kid you not, to this day, it still creeps me out. He says, "What's California Adventure?" And I'm just like, okay, what the hell is your deal? Like, how can you be a local and not know what California Adventure is? That's just... in the words of Wallace Shawn, that's just inconceivable. So anyways, we get paired up together because we're two single riders. And then, I go about my day, and I just kind of think, like, that was just really fucking strange. And come to find out, Mr. One Way is a guy who people strike up conversations with in the line for Space Mountain at Disneyland. He matches the exact description of what I laid out for you, like kind of balding, sunburnt, kind of a big build. And the one thing that constantly people pick up with this guy is the fact that he seems like he's out of time. The fact that he doesn't know current stuff that's going on with Disneyland. And I had this experience before I even knew that Mr. One Way was a thing. And now the rumor is, like, kind of the urban legend is that if you ride with him, then he'll disappear before the end of the ride. Early on, I would like to say that that's what happened to me, but realistically, I don't. That's not what happened. However, I don't really remember ever, like, acknowledging the guy or anything after I got off of the ride. So the whole theory is that he's obviously like a ghost of someone who died on Space Mountain in the 70s or whatnot. And guys, this is like a whole thing. I mean, this is like the most famous Disneyland ghost, I'm telling you. Like, so I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I've been into Mr. One Way for a long time. I don't fully believe in him. But by the same token, I can't explain what happened beyond just like a guy just being really, really not up to speed about current events going down in the Disney community. I don't know. I can't explain the fact that a local didn't know what California Adventure was. I really can't explain that I had an encounter with this guy before I even read about people having seemingly other weird kind of out of time encounters with him. You know, I don't know. The whole thing is just endlessly fascinating to me. He's not a character that Disney made up, obviously, but he is a fixture of the Disneyland Space Mountain for me. I will never look at the Disneyland Space Mountain and not think of him. Right? You guys are either creeped out or you think I'm fucking crazy.
I am neither. I live in South Carolina, right on the Georgia border. Savannah is one of the most haunted cities in the nation, if not the world.
Gotcha.
I totally believe you if you say you saw a ghost. I've seen a ghost. I've seen multiple ghosts.
Just weird. Doug, I'm actually surprised you've never heard of him as a SoCal local. He's a pretty big SoCal urban legend. All right, now we're on to number 5. Doug, what's your number 5?
All right, this one I feel might be a little controversial, and I think it may or may not even count technically as a character, but Shamu from SeaWorld.
Oh, no. Oh, God. I would say it counts. It's at least a brand. It's at least an icon, you know. It's a mascot.
Doug. A real whale originally, but then they applied the Shamu name to other whales for several decades afterwards. Every star whale in the show, I mean, it was SeaWorld. The two were completely inseparable. And like even to this day, with their fortunes falling apart, it's because of the Shamu brand no longer having its staying power and having the negative association with it. So I think just as a very successful marketing gimmick, which created an entire franchise of parks based around this character, as they sold it, at least as a character, incredibly successful for the park, whether you think it was a good thing that they did or not. And even the original Shamu attacked a few people.
I give you major cojones for putting this on your list, my friend. I mean, I don't disagree that it's a theme park icon. It's certainly a theme park icon, and honestly, I do kind of think it deserves a spot. I really do. I just wouldn't have the balls to put it there. So I'm glad you did.
You have to have that conversation when you put Shamu in.
In a way, it's like making, saying that D.W. Griffith movies have cinematic value. Like, it's definitely a weighted statement to say, yeah, Shamu is an important character, historically important theme park character.
All right. Mickeyfan, your top 5, or your number 5, I should say.
Right. The newest member of the theme park original character collection, Camellia Falco from Disney Sea Soarin'.
Oh, I know nothing about this character.
She's really interesting. No, I live in a family of pilots, so no, I for as little interest as I have in airplanes, I love aviation. So like seeing this aviator character who is so in love with aviation in all its forms and so inspired by Da Vinci to make her own version of the flying machine that works, and it takes people into this really cool, world basically, in the context of the ride. I just really love her for her. No, I think she's just a brilliant character.
All right, good choice. Good choice.
The Soarin' opened in Disney Sea last year, I believe. I've intentionally avoided all spoilers on that one because I do intend to get back out there. I actually, had COVID not happened, I would have been back to Disney Sea about a month ago for the sake of that Beauty and the Beast ride. But I withhold any judgment until I know more about it. But based on what they've done in the past with their sea characters, you're probably right that she deserves a very high spot.
Okay, my number 5 is another really old-fashioned, really old-school one. You can see it on the thumbnail here. It's a fixture of Knott's Berry Farm. You can't go to Knott's Berry Farm without talking to this guy, or else you're doing it wrong. I'm talking about Sad-Eyed Joe. Oh, yeah.
All right.
So Sad-Eyed Joe is just a legend, man. I mean, I don't know exactly how long he's been there, but he's been there. I think he at least predates Disneyland, I want to say. I don't think he's quite Laugh-In Sal old, but he's pretty damn old. So the great thing about Sad-Eyed Joe is that he's whatever the cast members kind of want him to be. He can be snarky, he can be sarcastic, he can be kind of like, if the cast member wants to play a game of like, hey, let me out and I'll make it worth your while or something like that. He can be talkative, he can ask you about your day. It's such an iconic design. It's just a great fixture of the park. Like I said, my day is not complete at Knott's Berry Farm until I talk to Sad-Eyed Joe. Like on the way out of the park, I will literally refuse to leave unless we go talk to him. It's such a tradition. It's such a fixture.
Is he like an animatronic or is he like an actual actor?
He's a statue that is. And there's a guy in a booth that's right around the corner. You can totally tell it's the same. He's it's not very obviously, it's not very well hidden, but still, it's fun. It's fun.
But the fact that they staff that position to this day, and it's such this is super obscure, because most folks probably who go to Knott's aren't going to notice him unless they already know about it. I was struggling. I was never able to come up with a Knott's character, and I wanted one. I was considering Pogue Mahoney at one point.
Spoiler alert, I have another Knott's character on my list in the top 5. Ooh.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. But no, Sad-Eyed Joe, I mean, like I said, I love the design. I think he's pretty iconic. And Doug, to add to what you said about how this isn't what people go to Knott's for, it totally used to be what people went to Knott's for. And one of the reasons Knott's is one of my favorite parks is because it maintains so much of the traditions that other theme parks just don't maintain. You can still pan for gold. They still have the blacksmith out every day. There's still townspeople out. They still do the saloon show. I mean, it's still constantly just a living, breathing Old West town, and it's got a lot of good roller coasters too. So I don't know. I love Knott's for that reason. It's kind of the best of both worlds. It's like a good Six Flags park mixed in with a really good well-themed Disney park. I love that park so much. All right, and now we move on to number 4. Doug, what do you got?
Well, Mickeyfan, my number 4 is Albert and Lord Mystic. For largely the same reasons as you said, is that they are like the next generation version of Dreamfinder and Figment. You can tell their relationship immediately just from the visual look of the two of them. They really are a package deal. And their personalities drive the entire ride. Without Mystic's collection and without Albert's mischievousness, Mystic Manor would not be a thing. It really is entirely based upon them. And they're kind of like the light side of the other side of the coin from Henry Hightower, or Harrison Hightower, rather. This is what sea can be when the explorers who collect from around the world are conscientious, when they believe the myths about enchanted music boxes and are careful about them. Hands on them. It's just, I mean, that ride, I've done it like 20 times in a day, partly because the queue is always really short, and it never gets old. It's just one of the best character-driven rides that I've ever been on. I think, personally speaking, maybe the best that I've experienced for myself. So, just fantastic work.
Right, Mickeyfan, you're number 4.
My number 4 is Penelope Toothsome from Some Chocolate Factory at Universal.
Queen.
Really though, like, no, it's great aesthetic, great personality.
Sorry, Doug, this is an Orlando thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna duck out to the restroom real quick.
All right.
Her personality is so, like, she's so bubbly, but you get that intelligence behind her.
She's bubbly, she's intelligent, but she can also be intense too.
Yeah. Like she's such an in-depth and interesting character. Like, you know, you're sitting down in Toothsome, and you see her come by, and you're kind of like, oh, who is this lady? I kind of want to know more about her and her robot guy.
One observation that I've had every time I go to Toothsome's is it's amazing for the guests, but I bet you anything it's intolerable for the people that actually have to work around it.
Oh, yeah.
Because she is just like, she will just like squeal and scream and exclaim.
I can see that.
I mean, as much as I love her, I always have like a little bit of sympathy for like the serving staff at that place.
I imagine at some point you just get used to it.
Probably. And then also the last Penelope that I had actually knew the hometown that I was from.
Really?
Yeah, like, because she specifically pointed out the Petaluma Pie Company and like, oh, they make delicious pies there. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, you've legitimately been to Petaluma. That's wonderful. What are the odds? Nobody cares about Petaluma outside of boomers who remember American Graffiti. So, right. So let's see. My number 4. Well, let's just say, I know this is probably your first flight, and it's mine too. So yeah, my number 4 is Captain Rex, of course, from Star Tours. Beloved character, voiced lovingly by Paul Rubens. Just, oh my God. I mean, what to say about this guy? First of all, I think the script of the original Star Tours might be one of the most classic and quotable scripts of any Disney ride. There's so many great one-liners in that one. You know, from I know this is probably your first flight and it's mine too, to comets. and just everything in between. Like,
I've
hey,
always wanted to do this.
I'm still getting used to my programming. Hey, it's just everything about it. Top to bottom is classic and iconic. And there's a reason that original Star Tours lasted as damn long as it did, even though it was outdated by the end, because the ride itself is fucking just perfect.
Yeah.
And then we got Star Tours 2, and I have big problems with Star Tours 2. I have a lot of issues with Star Tours 2. They do some stuff okay, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the lack of continuity in that one. But
you're okay with Rex lives on, so that's
no, exactly. That's the reason why Rex is on this list so high is because of the canteen. Because I love the fact that Rex has such an elaborate backstory where he was a disgraced Star Tours pilot who crash landed on Jakku or Batu or whatever the hell. God, all these new Star Wars planets sound the same. He crash landed on Batu, and was just taken in, and now he's just the DJ, and he found his true calling. It's a wonderful story. It's kind of beautiful in a way. It kind of reminds me of Mike Wazowski's arc in Monsters Inc. Where it's like he wasn't meant for what he wanted to do, but he found what made him happy. God damn it, he found his true calling. Just great stuff there. Great stuff. And of course, I love so many things about Rex in Oga's Canteen. I made sure to stay the entire hour that I could stay in there when I did go in, just to see a full cycle from him. And I love the.
You were both there?
No. I went there another time.
Okay.
This was before you and I went there. That time that you and I went there was kind of a shit show, to be honest.
I was, at least as far as the drinks are concerned, I wasn't that impressed. The setting was awesome, but
the setting was awesome, but I feel like between the drinks and I really wasn't a fan of the service that was going on, and I don't know. The drinks at Oga's Canteen, just by the way, are fucking terrible. Just really, just bad. Just straight up bad drinks. I tried 3 of them. I can't imagine any of the others being any better, honestly. I was so hyped to try those drinks too.
Aren't they like weak? Like barely a drop of alcohol in them?
They're tiny. Yeah. It's you order a $20 drink and you get like 2 fingers worth, effectively.
It's pathetic. It's really pathetic.
But I always liked drinking at the Carthay Circle Lounge, where they just let you have straight up whiskey. So that's.
You should have just went there instead. Seriously. Although I guess I didn't have a park hopper at the time, and I don't think you did either.
No. And plus, we wanted to see the cantina. That's the real
true.
reason.
That's true. There. All right, but regardless, Captain Rex, just what an arc, what a comeback story. Through 2 different eras of theme parks, he just lives on. I love it. All right, guys, now we're in the top 3. We're in our home stretch. Doug, what do you got?
All right, I have Pardos from Efteling.
Okay, I knew you'd work in an Efteling character.
All right, he has been, initially he was their mascot for several decades. He's the jester, also the master of ceremonies for the entire kingdom, who even had a TV show, like an animated cartoon, which they showed on Efteling TV in the hotels and everything. And he got so popular that a few years ago they decided, okay, we need to give this character a ride. And they created the ride Symbolica completely around Pardos the Jester. It is their trackless dark ride, done almost at Disney quality level. Just magical journey through an enchanted castle, and you have this Pardos the Jester is the playful kind of trickster character who's causing all the magical mayhem to happen around you. And just I mean, he feels like he would be in a Disney park. He feels like he would be one of the best Disney park characters of all time, and he happens to be in the tiny little Efteling.
Efteling is making waves recently, though. Man, that park is getting a lot of notoriety because of YouTubers covering it.
Yeah. One day.
That one of the various parks I've not been to, that's maybe the highest one up on my list right now.
Nice. Alrighty, Mickeyfan, you're number 3.
All right. My top 3, fair word of warning, probably going to be fairly controversial.
Okay.
But my number...
I know my number 1's going to be controversial.
My number 3 is Mickey the Dinosaur.
Oh man, that high?
Yeah,
I mean, I understand why Lucky's there, but I do not agree with it being that high.
It is a combination of nostalgia, love for the character, and love for the concept.
Okay. So I assume you actually got to see it in the parks.
Yes, I got to see him. I got to see him in the parks, and I also got to see him when they rolled him out at D23.
Oh, fucking nice.
But I just love the little guy. I like. He's another one of those. Just you take one look at him and you fall in love instantly.
I can't disagree. I the cart just kind of kills the design for me.
But the flower cart, that's kind of perfect for him.
Yeah.
We'll agree to disagree.
I think this is one of those things that, since I have no personal experience with it, the nostalgia factor, the direct personal interaction, seeing something in person, it has a big difference. So I can't judge one way or the other.
Yeah, all I remember about Lucky was kind of like just, I mean, I was on a very jaded theme park forum at the time, so I remember just people saying, like, it doesn't move fast enough and it's unconvincing.
Like, even in, like, several years after he premiered, it, like, looking at, like, videos and thinking back to then, like, I remember, thinking, oh my god, they brought back a dinosaur.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Doug that it is probably something you had to see in person, but I can respect the pick.
It was absolutely something you had to see in person.
Okay, my number 3, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because we've already covered it pretty thoroughly. The Ghost Host.
Yeah.
I mean, for basically the same reasons you guys already mentioned. I think he's the best character in the Haunted Mansion because we don't know who he is. He could be any number of different things. There's so many theories around him. That and Paul Frees I still think Adventure Through Inner Space is Paul Frees' greatest performance ever. But this is like a solid number 2. The only reason this isn't number 1, it's certainly more iconic than Adventure Through Inner Space. The only reason this isn't number 1 is that it doesn't have that same sense of an arc that Adventure Through Inner Space does. It doesn't have that, like, there's no real moment of panic with the Ghost Host. It's more, and also I've never really been all that much of a fan of, like, just him kind of randomly dropping out of the ride and then coming back in. That's one thing I'll mark against it, but just the concept of the Ghost Host, and, is it Master Gracie? Is it the Hanging Guy? Is it, I've heard people even speculate that it's the Hatbox Ghost. I don't think it's the Hatbox Ghost, but you never know. Or is it just another character that's simply a disembodied voice? There's so many endlessly fascinating theories about this guy. And I really think he's just kind of become part of theme park lore. And people should stop quoting him and let Paul Frees do his shit. Seriously.
Yes.
Unless it's a grad night. And then you can't control what people do.
Fair enough. Or unless you and your friends are the only ones in that damn stretch room.
Does that ever happen?
During after hours events, it can.
Okay. Or maybe if you make it your rope drop?
What?
If you did it at rope drop, that might be a little underattended as well.
I've done it at rope drop before, and indeed, I have had empty stretch rooms. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, guys, we're getting into the nitty gritty here. The top two. Doug, what do you got?
Well, my number 2 is controversial for being so low on the list.
Ooh.
Dreamfinder and Figment.
We'll get into it.
Agrees. They have to be very, very high up on this. They practically invented the concept of theme park characters. Of course, we've mentioned several that are older, but these are the ones who really are characters who have to have a ride narrative surrounding them. And the idea that you could communicate the entire ride and premise as efficiently as they do. I'm talking about, of course, the original Journey into Your Imagination, the Tony Baxter version with the turntable animatronic that starts it off is just a fantastic piece of work. I mean, or even how the two characters have become the unofficial mascots of our Sorcerer's Apprentice game that we do on these forums. That kind of staying power, the malleability of the concept, how universal it is, and how immediately easy it is to read. This is one, incidentally, that I've never personally experienced in any form. I've only seen them through YouTube videos or read about them, and they've had 2 crappy versions after the original classic. And despite all of these points against them, that they're this high, speaks to the quality of the idea.
Nice. Right. Mickeyfan.
All right. If you thought my number 3 was controversial, this one's absolutely going to be controversial. Gelatoni from Disney Sea.
Wait, the
cat.
Pizza guy?
The cat.
It's the cat.
Okay.
I think that Gelatoni kind of represents the perfect ideal of what Disney Sea was kind of going for with Duffy. He represents the Mediterranean harbor so perfectly. He represents that idea of, being super cute, but having this really fun and vivacious personality and having this really outgoing idea. And on top of that, being an artist, but being a little mischievous and being a little clever and trying to make up for that by going the other way sometimes. And I just think that Gelatoni is such a fantastic character who's kind of unfortunately saddled with the rest of the Duffy franchise that is cute but not amazing.
I am going to withhold commentary until I announce my number 1.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. My number 2 is Sunny Eclipse.
Yeah.
That's right. Sunny Eclipse. You know him. You love him. It's the weird alien dude who sings and serenades you inside Cosmic Ray Starlight Cafe. I have never actually gotten enough time in the Magic Kingdom to sit down and properly avoid him. I feel like every time I'm in the Magic Kingdom, I'm in a rush. But, man, I love the fact that he exists. This guy is kind of like the quintessential theme park character for me because he's so cheesy. His design is frankly kind of terrible. His whole getup is kind of terrible with the, I'm a swinging 1930s crooner who's also randomly an alien, and I'm gonna sing to you inside this really terrible fast food establishment. The whole concept
It shouldn't work, but it does.
It gloriously doesn't fit together, and yet by not fitting together, it's magic. It really is. It's its own unique, cheesy early '90s brand of magic that I hope never ever goes away. I mean, I don't know. At some point, I've considered having a meal at Cosmic Rays because I know the food isn't great, but like I can eat a good order of chicken nuggets. I hear they have good cheese sauce for the chicken nuggets. I'm down with that.
Good.
I'm down with that. That honestly sounds pretty damn good. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be the best meal I have all trip, but you know. But honestly, every time I go to see about getting a meal there, it's just the line is just such a clusterfuck. So I'm just kind of like, yeah, maybe another time. So I wish I had more FaceTime. You know, I wish I had more time with the Cosmic Ray animatronic or with Sunny Eclipse to actually like really study him and really get his mannerisms down and his songs and his catchphrases. But I mean, as it stands now, I still like I adore the character so much that he is at my number 2, even though I've only seen him for probably about 15-20 minutes of total park time, just because, like I said, I'm always kind of it's always kind of like a ritual, right? It's kind of like saying hi to Sad-Eyed Joe. It's like every time I'm in the Magic Kingdom, I'm like, oh, I got to stop by and give my respects to Sunny Eclipse, even if I'm not going to stay long. I just have to stop by. I just have to pop my head in. So, so yeah, just a truly just what the fuck character design. Monkey saying Sunny is the best thing at Walt Disney World. I don't disagree per se.
Yeah, he's up there, honestly.
And I'm still not sure how different he is from Tokyo's Tony Celeroni, who fulfills the same purpose. He's an animatronic in a Tomorrowland restaurant who sings music and is just a combination of terrible 90s ideas. I think they're technically a little distinct from each other, but it's a very, very similar concept.
Uh-huh.
And the place in Tokyo, decent food.
And guys, now we're going to get into our honorable mentions, tier 1. So Doug, why don't you go first?
All right, I'm going to just read out my 4. I have all the Tiki Birds, all the Country Bears, Rex from Star Tours, and the Timekeeper are all of mine.
I'm very surprised that I'm the only one where Rex actually made my actual list. Also, cheater in regards to the Country Bears and Tiki Room.
It's really hard to leave them off the list. I love them both as overall attractions, especially the Tiki Room. But just thinking about
I love the Tiki Room too, but I don't think any of those characters really stand out individually as strong personalities.
That's how I feel. I mean, Maynard would have to make it above them.
Oh, God. If I could put Maynard on this list, I would. New number 1, Tiki Maynard. All right. Mickeyfan, your honorable mentions?
My honorable mentions are the cast of the Country Bears and the cast of the Tiki Room.
Cheater.
You just can't separate them in my mind.
I separated them. I specifically picked out Gomer. Gomer's my bud.
I like when I think of the Country Bears, I think of that very last scene where they're singing Bear Traps, and then Big Al is in the corner singing Blood on the Saddle. And like that's what I think of when I think of the Country Bears. Like I can't, just separate them all. Like they're one big happy family. And then the Tiki Room, I think the cast of the Tiki Room is the character themselves. It's their, their all their interactions and all their, their sassing each other and rating each other and Sunny Eclipse, our boy, and Shariki Utundo from Disney Sea's Tower of Terror.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
All right. My honorable mentions, The Shaman of Song from Naughty River Journey. I mean, obviously a fantastic animatronic. I still think to this day, probably with the exception of the Beauty and the Beast animatronics that are inevitably going to blow them away. I think this is currently the most technologically advanced animatronic in the parks, or at least the most impressive one. Having said that, I just love the fact that the entire attraction builds up to her. Like top to bottom, that song, the visuals, the cue, the storytelling. It's
The way you like hear the song in the distance as you get closer and closer.
It's honestly the type of old school Imagineering that I love, and I wish it was a longer ride, but I'll take what I can get. I mean, it's just great, man. It really is. I think Navi River Journey is a terribly underrated ride.
It is unfairly hated, and I will defend it to my dying breath.
I'm right there with you, man. I love it. I mean, and I will admit, the last time I went on Flight of Passage, it was a little bit on the uncomfortable side because I'm starting to get bigger and I'm starting to not fit into those seats as well. So, I think at this point, my preferred ride might be River Journey, in all honesty. All right. Okay, now these next two are really interesting characters that have a shit ton of history behind them and a shit ton of lore behind them. One of them is Esmeralda from the Disneyland Penny Arcade.
Isn't she haunted?
I don't, probably. It wouldn't surprise me. I can't keep up with the Disneyland lore. There's the main things I know about the Disneyland lore with haunts are Mr. One Way, and then obviously Walt Disney's Ghost, and I mean, really, that's about it. There's a kid on the Autopia. That's a really scary story, but I might tell you guys that one off air. But yeah. So Esmeralda, I really like the mythos behind her. I like that Disney over the years has just kept this, this arcade cabinet, this fortune teller, just prominently in the middle of Main Street. And they just keep updating her. I believe now she's kind of involved in the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom or some sort of interactive game like that. Like there's some sort of game you can do with her. And I don't know. I really find her presence among Main Street to be kind of fascinating. And to me, it kind of speaks to that sort of Disneyland as a movie quality where you're walking down Main Street, you're seeing this quintessential American village, but then you're also seeing this Esmeralda thing right at the center of Main Street, and it's something weird, it's something exotic, it's something kind of spooky, and that kind of sets the tone for the weird, exotic, kind of spooky stuff that you're gonna see throughout Disneyland, and I love that. I love the placemaking of that. And finally, what?
Shrunken Ned.
That's another one. That's another good one. I don't think Shrunken Ned has quite the air of mystique as Esmeralda does, but he is a very fun character. And then the next one is Mr. Morrow, Pagey Mr. Morrow.
Yeah.
Tom Morrow. I mean, I didn't quite know what to do with this guy. Like, he's had a couple different incarnations. I believe he was initially the guy from Mission to Mars, and then he got upgraded into the weird, like, robot from Innoventions. And I don't really think either version of the character is all that memorable. But I do like the fact that he's the mayor of Tomorrowland, and that's kind of in canon in both coasts, I'm pretty sure. And I like the fact that after all these years, we still have that Pagey Mr. Morrow.
Yeah.
After all these years, we still have that, and I adore that. And it shows that Disney kind of respects its history, even when its history isn't really that great to begin with. So, all right, guys, we're on to our number ones. You ready to piss some people off?
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to piss people off.
I'm not going to piss anyone off.
You're in the clear.
I
All right, Doug.
off of my 3 and 2.
Doug.
All right, my number 1 is Duffy.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Oh god.
And I mean
Wow.
that with complete sincerity. Not so much for what Duffy means to me, but for what Duffy clearly means to everyone who visits Tokyo Disney Sea.
Okay.
He's just a cult figure that I've never seen anything comparable to it. I have seen grown women carrying like toddler-sized stuffed Duffies. They
Oh my
buy
god.
a park ticket for the bear. They get the bear fast passes and take him on all the rides with them.
Oh my god.
The
Wow.
amount of social ceremony surrounding bringing your Duffy into the park, and I've been involved in some of these things too. Because when you're there visiting as an obvious foreigner, you tend to attract the attention of groups of gigglesome girls, and they get to pose with the Duffy. They have even these little fold-out stands throughout the park, which are like selfie spots where you can sit your Duffy toy on the stand, put yourself next to it, and got the beautiful background,
Oh nice.
just all set up, ready to go. And the lines for the shows, the dedicated shop in Cape Cod to all the Duffy merchandise. Like I was there when they premiered Gelatoni, and it was a riot. What was going on? It was actually an easy way to get on various other rides because all the regulars were there for Gelatoni, who is cool. But I think all the Duffy characters are really there to support Duffy as much as Mickeyfan is a Gelatoni booster. It is definitely one of those
I
things.
am a Gelatoni stan.
You need to see it in person to really get the impression of what it means.
It really sounds like it's a cultural thing, but from what you're telling me, it really does sound pretty special. If people are like booking fast passes just so they can ride with their stuffed animals, I mean, that is a level of dedication that I really do find kind of endearing.
I think you do get it there, yeah. It's something that we have no real equivalent of. Not in that sense. It's a very Japanese thing. Like even I think Duffy originally wasn't even created for Tokyo. He premiered in downtown Disney in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And wasn't super popular, but the Oriental Land Company was looking over just the various back catalogs what Disney had, and they said, "Hey, this thing, we like this thing," and they came up with this entirely unique new backstory where Duffy is the stuffed bear that Mickey gave Minnie, or rather, that Minnie gave Mickey when he went out on a voyage. So I think everyone is kind of playing as like Duffy was Mickey's companion on a dangerous sea voyage, and so he's like their companion also when they go and explore the park.
Cool. All right, Mickeyfan, your very obvious number 1. Go ahead.
Dreamfinder and Figment.
Oh, there's a big surprise. I think I'm going to have a heart attack and die from not surprised.
I love these two.
I just say I intentionally left these two off the list because I knew they'd be very high on your lists.
I never got to go have the opportunity to go on the original ride. But like just videos and reading about them and reading the Figment comic book, like so much of them is designed perfectly. You have this kind of Santa Claus figure, very youthful and wise and old all at the same time. And you have Figment, who is just perfect in every aspect. You fall in love with him immediately, which I've said for the 3rd or 4th time this podcast. And it's the perfect duo because you have wise dream finder and sort of naive but intelligent Figment and they're exploring this universe of ideas and possibility.
It. I want to get you sure. That's it.
That's it.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Now, I'm
All right. And my
nuts?
number one very controversial choice that's going to make a lot of people angry. However, I will justify this by saying I do not think we have a haunt culture without this character. My number one is Sarah Marshall from Not Scary Farm.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, if you're Jack, you can, yeah, absolutely.
I just think in terms of haunt culture, in terms of just like the subculture surrounding the haunted house community and all that stuff at large, there is no bigger figure than Sarah Marshall. You can look at the one that you mentioned from Halloween Horror Nights, Doug, but Sarah Marshall predates that guy by a couple decades. I mean, there is so much rich mythology behind Sarah Marshall, who, just for context, is a witch who got hung at the trial at the stakes in the Knott's Berry Farm ghost town, and during Knott's Scary Farm, she haunts the ghost town. There is just a wealth of lore behind this character. I also think she's kind of there's a twinge of sympathy to her, because though she did practice witchcraft, she was unjustly executed. And, it is just kind of her getting her revenge, and you're just kind of like stuck in the middle of it. And the real reason I love this character is because of Not Scary Farm 2019. Doug, I don't believe you had a chance to go that year, did you?
No, I didn't.
Let me tell you, one of the best theme park experiences I have ever had, bar none. Not Scary Farm 2019 was another level. They had a new maze that brought back Sarah Marshall and brought her fully into the ghost town mythology. Everything about the event focused on Sarah Marshall. So the hanging show focused on Sarah Marshall. There was stuff going on surrounding the scare actors that focused on Sarah Marshall. There was a witch being burned alive at a stake that was kind of a callback to Sarah Marshall. All throughout the damn park, this living, breathing, organic story of Sarah Marshall was happening all around me. And it was just the most elaborate, most immersive fucking thing I have ever been involved with a theme park. It was the level of storytelling and craftsmanship and thought that went into that year of Not Scary Farm is just fucking outstanding. Just absolutely unbelievable. So that's why it's my number one. It's my number one because it's the original Halloween Horror Nights icon. Way before Halloween Horror Nights was even a thing. It was like, without Sarah Marshall, I don't even know if the haunt community would be as big as it is now. Just a total, just towering landmark of a character. And like I said, I think there might be more backstory surrounding her. If you look into every single year she's been at Not Scary Farm and every incarnation of her, and each incarnation adds a little bit more backstory to the mix. Yeah, just fucking fantastic. Just like I said, I cannot hype up enough just how fully and completely immersive Not Scary Farm 2019 was, specifically because of all the Sarah Marshall lore. Woo! All right, guys, we did it. We just have one more question from Claude Karinga. What original theme park character do you guys think should get his or her own animated series or movie or musical? What do you guys think?
That's a really good question.
I would go with a C Netflix series.
Disney Plus series.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I guess it'd
Yeah.
be Disney Plus, but I would go with like a C series where it's like each episode focuses on an individual member, but there'd be crossovers in between.
Okay,
With
so
all of them.
like an anthology kind of deal.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would go
It would
with.
have a bit of a shared universe MCU kind of quality, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not one character.
I would want it to be. I would want it to be a TV series. I wouldn't want it to be standalone movies.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's the kind of market for standalone movies, but I do think there's the niche interest for the characters.
Part of me thinks that these characters wouldn't be served well in a movie.
Oh, you got to pick one. Come on.
Well, no, I was talking about C.
Oh, okay.
But my choice. I've been a proponent of doing a children's series about the Duffy characters. I think that it's such kind of a no-brainer kind of thing to put Duffy into the limelight by making kids grow up with him. Follow the adventures of Mickey's teddy bear and all his friends.
I think if they did more original content like that in Japan, it would certainly, absolutely, it would play there.
Yeah.
If it could be a cross-cultural thing, that's a different question. If it could be, then you would suddenly be able to make Duffy a thing everywhere else.
But I'm kind of almost picturing this Moomin vibe with it, where it's Duffy and Gelatoni and Shelly May and Stella Lou and all of them, and they're just kind of chilling, going on adventures. I think it'd play super well in both the States and Japan, honestly.
All right.
Doug, you got an answer?
I'm going to go with the alien from Extraterrestrial Encounter.
Okay.
Ooh, man.
As
like a horror movie?
Yeah, do a kind of like a alien riff for the family set, kind of. Playing in the whole...
So Alien as a dark comedy, basically.
Yeah. Using what was the company called? XS? Something like that?
Yeah.
I think that was it, yeah.
Use them as the kind of like the framing device or the entity that is trying to capture and utilize the alien. Very much like Wayland Yutani in that sense. Just think it has potential that's not yet been tapped.
Yeah, I think Alien Encounter would make a really great black comedy.
I'm going to throw in one more. I want a silly slapstick animated show about Sad-Eye Joe. Just the misadventures of Sad-Eye Joe, and he's like just the most pathetic excuse for an outlaw, and he always gets thrown in jail for the most pathetic reasons. He can't do anything right.
How formulaic are you going with that?
Oh, very formulaic, my friend. Incredibly formulaic. As formulaic as you get.
Good.
Adapt the Cotton Eye Joe song, modified for his theme song.
Yes.
Joe.
Yep.
All right, guys. You want to recap your list really quick?
All right. Just doing my top 10, top to bottom.
Yeah, just the top 10. Yeah.
All right. Holodog, Chandu, Jack the Clown, the Ghost Host, Henry Hightower, Shamu, Henry Mystic and Albert, Pardos, Dreamfinder and Figment, and number 1, Duffy.
All right, Mickeyfan.
Red, Chandu, Mario Chenier, Madame Leota, Henry Mystic and Albert, Camellia Falco, Penelope Toothsome, Lucky the Dinosaur, Gelatoni, and Dreamfinder and Figment.
All right, my number 10, the Inner Space Narrator. Number 9, Laughin' Saul. Number 8, Mara. Number 7, the Orange Bird. Number 6, Mr. One Way. Number 5, Sad-Eye Joe. Number 4, Captain Rex. Number 3, the Ghost Host. Number 2, God damn it, I have Sunny Eclipse. Yeah, Sunny Eclipse. Sunny Eclipse. I'm sorry, I always get Sunny Eclipse and Cosmic Ray mixed up in my head. Number 2, Sunny Eclipse, and number 1, Sarah Marshall. No, not that Sarah Marshall, the other Sarah Marshall.
The one we didn't forget.
All right, guys. Yeah, exactly. By the way, when I was at Not Scary Farm, there was this guy who was, who was kind of egging on the crowd about like the crimes of Sarah Marshall. He was like, kind of like an angry judge or something like that outside of the Sarah Marshall attraction. And he was like, let's list off the crimes of Sarah Marshall. And as I got up there, I was like, he broke Jason Segel's heart. Or she broke Jason Segel's heart. Fun times. All right, guys, thanks so much.
We have some pretty unique lists, but they were all very legitimate.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been a bundle of fun. You guys are awesome. Have a good night.
Good night, Mr. Tiki.
Good night.
I'm bouncing on people's heads.